Now, welcome everyone to Press TV's News Review program, where we get in-depth in one of the day's top stories. The U.S. Justice Department says police in Minneapolis, Minnesota routinely resort to violent and racist practices.
Specifically, we found that MPD and the city of Minneapolis engages in a pattern or practice of using excessive force, unlawfully discriminating against Black and Native American people in enforcement activities, violating the rights of people engaged in protected speech.
And Garland added the Minneapolis Police Department have also been violating the rights of people engaged in protected speech and discriminating against people with disabilities. Findings came in a review 3 years after African-American resident George Floyd was murdered by the city's police. Report detailed multiple cases of police shooting unarmed and unthreatening people. Cases include killing a woman who called 911 emergency to report a possible sexual assault. Now, Floyd's death set off protests across the U.S. and beyond over police abuse and discrimination against people of color, putting pressure on police departments around the country. Now joining us for the program's Abbas Montaqim, activist and organizer and podcaster out of Oakland, California, and Mr. Mike Harris, editor at Veterans Today, joining us from Portland, Phoenix. Hello, gentlemen. I'd like to welcome you both to the program here. I guess we'll start there with Northern California. Mr. Abbas Montaqim, welcome to the program, sir. So I guess, this is obviously in Minneapolis is a systemic problem. Perhaps we could deduce now that George Floyd's death was not an anomaly.
Yeah, I mean, if we look at the foundation of this country, the foundation of policing in this country, we know it's in the patrolling of Black people, the patrolling of enslaved African people. So when we look at this history and we see what happened to George Floyd, we've seen what happened here in Oakland to Oscar Grant, we've seen what happened to hundreds of thousands of Black people being killed, murdered extrajudicially by the police. This is a part of the very fabric of this country, of the United States of America. So we shouldn't be surprised when these killings happen, because this system is a genocidal system. The system of policing is a genocidal system that is meant to do exactly what it is doing. And, you see the federal government releasing this report, but how can you expect the federal government to investigate itself? We're still looking at the U.S. government investigating itself. So it's saying it's founding these new findings, but, the federal government is doing the same exact thing.
All right, thank you, Mr. Montaqim. Mr. Mike Harris, welcome to the program. Your thoughts on this review and Merrick Garland saying it's a systemic problem. Is it a problem just for the city of Minneapolis? How can it be addressed? Or is it a bigger problem that's plaguing a lot of police departments throughout the country? And how do you deal with it?
Well, first of all, anything that Merrick Garland or the Biden weaponized Department of Justice says is a lie. If they say something is up, count on it being down. If they say it's raining outside, it's sunny. Anything they announce, you have to believe the exact opposite. And I think the bigger problem is not that Black people are being discriminated against by police. I think the bigger problem is that Black people commit 47% of the violent crime in America, and Black men only represent 6% of the population. So they have a disproportionate amount of crimes that are committed, violent crimes, against Blacks and whites and Asians that are committed by Black men. And this is the bigger problem that people don't want to talk about. And the biggest failing this country has is the failure to have an honest discussion about race relations. And what we've been doing since the Civil Rights Act of 1964 obviously isn't working. And it's time for a new and open dialogue to bring the parties together in a way we can both agree on, and not allow the deep state or the globalists to pit us against each other, which is what they want. They want us fighting each other. So we need to overcome that and be better than they are.
Right. But a lot of people make the argument, Mr. Harris, that a lot of systemic barriers push a lot of young Black men into poverty, keep them in poverty. A lot of opportunities are not provided for them to excel the way perhaps you were able to excel as a young white man in America. And thus, they're put in the situation they're more prone to commit acts of violence. It's not just a matter of Black men, it's poor white people too. A lot of people in poverty-stricken areas usually commit the crime in America.
Well, I agree that poverty is an element here, but the way the laws are written since the Civil Rights Act of 1965, the law clearly demands equal opportunity for all. Now, what the individuals who take that opportunity, how they maximize their potential, that's up to the individual. Do they have the ability? Do they have the drive? Do they have the determination and the willpower to do what it takes to be successful? And that's of anybody, black or white. I mean, you can be given an opportunity, but you've got to run with the ball. You've got to get it done yourself. And affirmative action isn't going to cure that. Hard work is what cures that. And I don't have an answer for that, because I can't speak on behalf of black people, because they've got to determine themselves, are they really putting in the effort? That's something that they have to determine, because it's hard for white people too. I mean, I had to really struggle. I bootstrapped myself out of nothing. So that's just the way it is. It's hard for everyone.
I'm sure it is. But Mr. Abbas Moutarim, the Civil Rights Act, maybe on paper it looks great. Do you feel since the 60s it's been uniformly implemented throughout the country and properly enforced, where people of color get a fair share to get theirs in American society?
I mean, first and foremost, we have to look at the foundation, again, of this country and who wrote the laws of this country. Someone wants to talk about black people being criminals. The real criminals are the people who wrote the Constitution of the United States of America. These people had no right, no political, no historical right to even come to this land as settler colonizers, to steal the land from indigenous people, to enslave African people, and to build the whole wealth of this country. The other person wants to talk about affirmative action. Affirmative action benefited white people the most. So if we look at this country and this capitalist system that is designed to exploit African people, that is designed to exploit black people, that is designed to pillage the world, the third world, of all its natural resources, we have to ask ourselves, is this system even capable of being fixed? If the foundation of this system is genocide, how do you stop genocide? You don't stop genocide by reforming this Constitution that was written by white men who had literally the teeth of enslaved people in their mouth as they is writing this Constitution. This Constitution has no moral or political authority. But the solution is that we have to organize, and we have to say no against this genocide against indigenous people, say no against this genocide against African people, say no against the genocide of people of color all over the world. And if we look, the United States was found guilty of genocide for the racist police killings of black, brown, and indigenous people, for the hyper incarceration, for the political incarceration of civil rights and national liberation era activists, for the environmental racism, right, for the public health racism, right, for the complete total genocide of our people.
We have to continue this. Obviously, it's a loaded topic. We're going to have to continue it another time. I want to thank you both for joining us. Some powerful stuff there. Mr. Abbas Moutarim, thank you. Mr. Mike Harris, thank you both. And viewers, this brings us to the conclusion of this segment of your Press TV's News Review program. Thank you for tuning in, and goodbye for now.